Hi, this is Jason with McGuire's Clocks. Today we're going to be taking a look at this beautiful Sligh Legacy series. This particular one was manufactured in 2000. It is called the Wilton model, and the model number is 0939-1-AN. And it's part of their Legacy series, so the case has been hand finished and carries a number of upgrades from their standard line, including all the glass in it, with the exception of the glass over the face of the clock, is beveled. It has hinged doors on the side, and all the glass is put in with this wood trim. In their normal lineup and in most clocks, this is a piece of rubber. This was just a nicer way of doing this. It has dual doors, so one for the dial and then one for the weights and the pendulum. Since you don't really need to access the weights and the pendulum, you have this separate door up top, which is a nice feature. One of the major upgrades when you get in this line is this dial, and it's probably the showpiece of any of them. Doesn't matter how nice the case is, but this centerpiece is perforated so you can actually see the workings of the clock. And then instead of having your selector switch for your chimes here and your selector switch for the night off and the strike over here, they are put up in these round silvered discs in the top right and left corners. This one controls your night off, and this one controls your silent and your chime function. Now this one has the upgraded movement in it. It has Beethoven, Ave Maria, and Westminster instead of just the standard Westminster, St. Michael's, and Whittington. Functional lunar calendar, so this will turn once each day. This thing clicks, so the moon will move around. So if it was set correct right now, which it is not, tonight would be full moon. This is all perforated, and this is cut and then laid over the background. A lot of these clocks, this is just punched into a solid piece of brass up here instead of having all this nice overlay on it. Again, just to show you all the glass, and I was wrong on this. This is actually kind of unusual even for the Sligh Legacy series, but this top piece of glass is actually beveled also. They don't usually do that. So I was wrong there. I didn't see that, and I just expected it to not be beveled, but it is. So every piece of glass on this is beveled. So this perforation here, it carries on down to the pendulum, and the one on the pendulum is silver backed. And you can see it's the same design though. And I was really happy because a lot of the times through moves and such, you wind up with some scratches on these pendulums and weights. And for the most part, from what I can tell, they're in outstanding condition over most of the ones that I see. So on the outside of the case, it doesn't get super fancy, but what it does give you, which is really nice, is this is book match. So this piece and this piece over here, this isn't one continuous piece, it's actually two pieces split in the center, but they're from the exact same cutting, and they just flip it over. So it's book match flame mahogany, and you get it here, and then you get on the side also, and then down at the base, it's in the front here, book matched again, and then on the side again, you get the same flame mahogany. You get a little embellishment down here, which corresponds to the one that's at the top of the clock. And then you have these simple rosettes on the pediment. It is a really stunning clock, and it's in outstanding shape. With all of our used clocks, I have a guy that comes in and he'll do touch-up on anything on the clock that needs it. This one did have some touch-up, but it was very little. Usually Most of the time it's on the base of the clock from people running vacuum cleaners or brooms or whatever by them. You get scuffs along the base, and so we have those taken care of. So I'll go ahead and show you what it sounds like. We're going to start with Westminster, and this movement is a little bit different. So normally on most movements you would get a portion of the song each quarter. Well, on this one, what you get is you get one ding here, two dings here, three dings here, so that you know it's first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, and then it plays the song at the top of the hour. Alright, that was Westminster. Now we'll go to Ave Maria, and you'll get to see what it does on the quarter. So one gong, two gongs, and then we get Ave Maria at the top of the hour. Alright, then we'll go to Beethoven. Now, before I do this, I'll tell you, Howard Miller has a similar movement. It's made by Kenninger, and a similar Beethoven Ave Maria setup, but the Sligh clocks were always louder for some reason. The Howard Miller's, it's really quiet, hard to hear, but this one's got a good amount of sound to it. I'm gonna wait for this one in the background to stop playing before I start. All right. Alright, so I'm going to go over one more thing because this movement is a little different than others. Hermle no longer makes this mechanical unit. Now, if it had the standard chime in it, they have a lesser version of this that it's switchable with, where you can take this one out and replace it. But since this one has the 16 hammer movement that plays Ave Maria and Beethoven's Ninth, you can't do that. So what I've done is I've pulled the movement out, and it was in great shape. It's a 2571 model, and it's actually got a few jewels in it, which the knockoff one or the replacement one does not have anymore. So the movement was completely pulled out, barrels pulled out of the clock that you wind everything on right here, so I had access to everything. I went through and cleaned everything off of it. Every little bit, blew everything out with air, cleaned it again, and then re-lubricated it. Put the barrels back in. It did not need any bushings on this one. It was in outstanding shape. So it's ready to go. It will have a 2-year warranty on it, just like any new clock, but you should get a good 20 to 25 out of it before you have to do any serious service. Just make sure you're having it serviced every 5 years. That way you don't destroy the mechanism. You can find us at mcguiresclocks.com, under McGuire's Clocks on Facebook, and you can reach us at 512-452-4558. Thank you.